So we logged her out. So.
Okay, it's 5:30, so the Norfolk Public School District's Board of Education meeting is called to order. Roll call.
Terry Bauer,
Present.
Cindy Booth,
Present.
Brenda Carhart,
Present.
Beth Shashikant,
Present.
Tom Stanton,
Present.
Sandy Wolf.
Present.
All members are present. We do have a quorum.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. This is a legal meeting of the Board of Education as advertised by the means specified in board policy. A complete copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted in the boardroom for your review. A copy of the agenda is available at the desk of the recording secretary. Please stand and join us in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. We are going to start with our presentations, and we have some great presentations. The first one is a special presentation about our career academies. Mr. Settles, good timing.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jason Settles, principal at Norfolk Senior High School, and so tonight I have the pleasure of here momentarily handing over the microphone to our Director of Career Academies, Ben Reese, and also getting a chance to hear from some of our great community partners. But tonight we're going to talk to you a little bit about our career academies. And so, this is just a huge part of our mission, trying to make sure that all of our students are prepared for life after high school, finding what they want to do, everything from a 4-year school, 2-year school, or apprenticeship or skilled program. We say that to our students on day one. This is our goal for you. This is what we want you to do when you graduate. So there's lots of different options out there, but we want you to be successful, and our career academies play a huge role in that. And so we're going to share a little bit of information about that with you this evening, and then let our community partners share with you about that. It's a great program. It's a unique program. We're really excited that we get to house all of these things within our building. A lot of districts that offer these programs and these services, students have to go somewhere else to get it, and so we're able to incorporate all of this into what we're doing, along with all more traditional services and things that we have. And it takes a lot of work by a lot of people. One of them, Mr. Reese here, and then our guidance counselors putting this all together, and so very happy to hand it over to Ben here.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Settles, for the introduction, and thank you, Board of Education, for the opportunity to be here and share about our career academies. When we sat down to start deciding how we wanted to do this, we found it really challenging because we feel like we do so many different things that could have been presentations, maybe all to itself. So we kind of settled on a few things that we wanted to spotlight and give you an overview about here tonight. The first one is really to talk about the Career Academy concept and what that looks like from the state level. The second thing will be to share a little bit of a history and an overview of what career academies look like at Norfolk High School. We also want to spend some time with some of our great partners. We have had tremendous support over the last 10 years as we brought that online here in our community. And as we looked back and reflected on all the help that we've had at Norfolk Public Schools, it was hard to settle in on just a couple out of respect for everybody's time. And then lastly, we wanted to let you hear from a student perspective of somebody who's gone through a program and graduated from Norfolk High School and is now living part of their journey. So we'll kind of wrap up the presentation with that this evening. So to kind of lead us off, I want to talk quickly about the academies. So the colors up there actually mean something to us, or at least to those in our building and our students. There are these academies that our programs of study fall under. The first one in yellow is business, marketing, and management. The second one is ag, food, and natural resources, which is signified in anything that we see as green. The purple categories are communications and information technology. The orange categories and programs are skilled and technical sciences, and our health science is signified in red. And lastly, our family and consumer sciences, which at Norfolk High School is really our early childhood and education programs, are signified in blue. So that kind of talks, I want to talk a little bit about how this came to be from the state level. In 2012, the Nebraska legislature passed legislation requiring the Department of Education to establish quality standards and operational guidelines for career academy programs in Nebraska. In Norfolk, right from the very early stages of that, made a decision of this is something that we feel is important for our students. The intent of that legislation, and sometimes referred to as Rule 47, was to ensure the quality career academy programs across the entire state have an evaluation process, which is, for us, is called the revision process, which we just did last year, where we talked to stakeholders, teachers, and those guidance counselors and those closest to our career academies on where we are and go through a goal setting process. And then that is also becomes the measurement device through the revision process of how we're doing. I want to talk a little bit about why students, or why this would be so important to participate in. We've seen that increased student engagement through career academy programs has been linked to increased high school completion and entering post-secondary education. Through the career academy participation at the secondary level, students have the opportunity to explore career fields of interest to better determine which pathway is an appropriate fit prior to entering post-secondary education or directly entering the workforce. So what we're trying to do is give students a taste of what possibilities are for them before they end up at a college institution, possibly taking on debt, possibly getting down a road that maybe they found that maybe they're not suited for. We talk to our students frequently about it's okay if you find something that you don't like. That's actually a success as well. So, and if you find something that you have a passion and a drive for, then we are more than happy to come alongside those students and push them along so they can get even further ahead prior to leaving our doors as graduates. Kind of moving along here a little bit. Like the benefits to our community. First of all, or career academies in our community. So career academy programs are identified based on local economic and workforce development needs. We just don't willy-nilly say, hey, let's throw this in there. We are getting information from our local workforce development coordinator on, hey, these are things that we see as needs in our local community. Students learn of opportunities in their local communities that may entice them to return to the area after post-secondary education. So we're trying to find ways to keep them or bring them back if they end up choosing to leave us for a short time. For our students, they get that opportunity, like I just mentioned, about trying on or learning more about these careers in our building. They get a chance to take courses that integrate technical content. So they are actually doing these things in our building. Through our student organizations, they are also getting leadership experiences. And in some cases, we are getting them in the workplace which you'll hear from a student here in a little bit about some opportunities that they had. For employers, it's the opportunity to build positive relationships with our school and our students. And I think you'll hear about that a little bit from one of our partners later on tonight. But some of these people may end up being future employees for people right here in our community. And if they get a chance to make those connections early on, that's a bonus for the employer, for our school, and ultimately our student. We talked briefly about, for the school's benefit, anything from increased graduation rate and attendance at school. Sometimes students are coming to school because they're working on a vehicle in our automotive shop, and that's a project that they really enjoy doing, or they're learning how to fly a drone. That's something that they want to be at school to do. So we've really seen a lot of interest in our academies from those perspectives, and it's been a benefit for our school. And lastly, our partnerships with Northeast Community College and Wayne State College, local institutions that help us get students a head start on dual credit courses. They have been great partners for us. You'll hear a little bit more here from a student on ways that they were able to capitalize on dual credit as they've gone to college. And those are conversations that are continually ongoing on how we can increase and expand our opportunities for dual credit. Okay, so let's talk about what that looks like here in Norfolk a little bit and how we got to where we are today. As I said, in 2012, the Nebraska legislature passed legislation for schools to start doing this. By 2014, our Board of Education and school leaders already had a strategic action plan in place to expand career readiness in our schools in all 6 of the career clusters that we talked about, the colored areas. As that goal and plan started to take shape, school leaders and the Public School Foundation spearheaded a $1.37 million campaign to expand career academies at Norfolk High School. You can see on these photos, that middle picture is the expansion that happened in our automotive area, and in the upper right is those students are actually in the expanded welding area. We just didn't get the space when we did that. We also got the equipment and the partnerships that came along with that, which was really a bonus for our students. So we have 3 industrial grade lifts in our automotive shop. We have 12 industrial grade welding bays in our shop that is used all day long. And students really enjoy the opportunities to do those things in our building. The business community was instrumental in making the strategic goal become this reality. The capital campaign led to community awareness and a relationship building effort to inform local businesses of the needs of Norfolk Public Schools and how these partnerships could build a strong and skilled workforce and fulfill the needs of both groups. And then those also led to even stronger partnerships with Northeast Community College as we started to identify ways we could increase dual credit offerings. Okay, so on to the history now. In the fall of 2016, we started modestly with ag, construction, drafting, and health science academies. Followed quickly on the heels of that was automotive, metals, culinary, early childhood, business administration, finance, IT, and marketing. So it grew quickly once we got the expansion done and we were working into the Career Academy format. In the fall of 2019, we partnered with Wayne State College for the Education Academy. And throughout that time, we were bringing online our CTSOs, and those are our career and technical student organizations. FFA, which has always been a part of it, but we started developing organizations for HOSA, which is our Health Occupations for Students of America, Educators Rising, FBLA, which had been a long-standing part of our school offerings anyway, and Skills USA. So that was another piece of our expansion. And as of today, Norfolk High School offers 18 different Career Academy programs of study that are aligned to the NDE. So that brings me to the handout, and I couldn't get this on the board. So I'm looking at this handout right here. These are the Career Academy programs of study, the 18 programs that we offer currently. This is where at the beginning I was talking about we could go through each one of these academies and probably make it one of its own. But there's a couple things that I want to call your attention to as you get a chance to review this. These are a program of study of classes that you're looking at. There's an introductory class, there's an intermediate class, and there's a capstone class. Those are required for students to complete to be qualified as Career Academy completers. One thing that's important for us and that we're continually looking at is how can we get students a head start within those programs. That can mean a dual credit opportunity. So if you see like a little asterisk by a class, that means that class is currently offered for dual credit at Norfolk High School. So that's one way in those programs that we can help students get a head start. The other that you'll see in parentheses from time to time is an OSHA certification. So we have a variety of different safety certifications that students can get that we feel prepare them in those programs to go out and be workers right from day one as they walk through our doors. So the other thing would be in the IT department about the Microsoft certifications where Mr. Brandel in his IT classes are allowing students to be certified in there. So it's a real life, real world certification that we feel students can take outside of our doors and use. A few items of note as we look through this. Being a Career Academy participant is voluntary and it's flexible. The students are not required to do any of these things. We definitely encourage it. We want to try to get them early on in their high school experience to try some things, and if it's something that catches, then we will encourage them to continue. If it's something that they find that they don't like, then we encourage them to, hey, let's try something different. And you will find students that will complete multiple programs at Norfolk High School. So especially in our business and management and marketing pathway, a lot of those classes qualify in different programs, and if some students will complete 3 or 4 programs by the time they graduate in that sector. If a student completes the program of study at Norfolk High School, they earn the right to wear a silver cord at Norfolk High School graduation. So just last year, there were 123 programs of study that were completed by the class of 2024 by right at 101 different students. So not quite half. I would really like to see us get to half of our students completing programs, but we're very proud that 123 different programs were completed by the class of 2024. Okay, so now I'm on the slide here in front of you. So this has kind of been my baby here as we've started. How do I get freshmen to start thinking about what they want to do and what they want to be? A lot of them will sit in our program of our freshman forum career speaker and have really no idea what they want to do. So what we've done is partnered with local community members, and this is the second sheet or second handout that I gave to you that is our calendar for just this past semester. We have had tremendous opportunities to partner with speakers to come into and talk to our students for 20 minutes on Wednesdays in Carson Theater. And that 20 minutes is brief, but it also lets us every week put career academies in the front of their brains. And really they are, as freshmen, they're doing nothing with our academies yet. We only want them thinking about it. So it's been great to have them in front of our students, and we know when we come back in the second semester, we are going to start having more conversations about registration as sophomores and what academies do you have an interest in. So that leads them into their sophomore experiences. So it has been a pleasure to work with this program and get this up and rolling, and I'm really excited about the second semester and getting that going for our students. So as freshmen coming through this program, we hope to generate as much interest in our academies as we possibly can as they become sophomores. So that leads me to two unique things that we do with our sophomores. And this is where I get to turn it over and talk a little bit with our community partners. So first off, I want to invite Jason Love and Kelsey Schrader up here. They, a couple years ago, prior to me being here, had the opportunity to bring a program to Norfolk High School called Reality Check. I'm gonna show a quick video so you kind of get an idea of what that looks like, and I'm gonna let Jason and Kelsey talk about the program that they started with us.
Getting stronger. This is how legends are made. Above it all, untouchable. A new animal. This is how legends are made. This is how legends are made. This is how legends are made. I got the lightning inside me. Oh, just you watch. This is how legends are made. Like a titan that's rising.
Well, thank you guys for having us. Wow, that's really loud. I'm Kelsey Schrader. I work at Midwest Bank. Jason Love's our market president here in Norfolk. And we were really excited to bring this to Norfolk Public Schools 3 years ago and continue on doing it each year, kind of expanding it, making it a little bit bigger, a little bit better every single year. How it got started, we saw some school down in Oklahoma did it on social media. We tweaked all of their good stuff that they had, made it relevant to Northeast Nebraska, and then brought it here. We started with 60 kids the first year. This year we had over 200 registered. We had a couple of different events with school going on that day, so only about 130 made it through, but we did it in the morning, so it's from 8 to 11:30 on a half day of school. So it's really fun. For half of a day of school, you get to come through Reality Check. The primary purpose of it is just financial literacy, whether it's you get to actually have a checkbook, and most kids don't have one or know what they are anymore. But they go through all of the different booths, like you guys saw on the hype video. That is a video we sent out to the students this year. Our marketing team made that, and it got to go out just kind of to get them hyped, to get them ready for the day, introduce them to what they were going to be doing that day. But they get to partner with different area professionals in the industries that the booths are. So like you see Lou's there, Lisa's playing the game of chance on your right-hand side. And then on the left is McMill with the retirement planning. So they get to go through the game of life, essentially. You have a reality check card, so it has all of the different booths. You have to visit all of them in certain order, so you can't buy home insurance without buying a house first. You have to go to Real Estate Solutions has been our booth the last couple years, but so you have to go buy a house, go buy insurance, buy furniture, utilities, all the fun stuff that life presents you. Things that they don't think about: childcare, groceries, getting haircuts, buying your kids new clothes, things like that. Or chance. You spin the wheel of chance, and it could be your grandma gives you $100 for your birthday, or it could be you got a flat tire. And so just different things they log in their checkbook as they go through, so you kind of have a running total, you know where you're at through the month, that kind of thing. But it's just a really fun way for our kids to get touched with community people in industries that they are going to be in someday, or have a conversation with somebody that they are going to the grocery store at some point in their life. They're going to know people at the grocery store, or they're going to know people at the bank if they need help, and just answer different questions along the way. They're always amazed that childcare is so expensive. So we do always get a good chuckle at all the kids. But we partner with McMill to get salaries, and we partner with Ben to get their career academy. So they're in a career that they're interested in at that point. They get a salary that's probably very comparable in Norfolk or the surrounding communities with that job that they were presented. They're presented a spouse and kids, and so then they go through that game of life, and it's been really fun. The kids always have something funny to say. We come back to the bank that afternoon and we just laugh about everything that they had to say that year. But it's been really fun. It's been a really great partnership. Ben's been really fun to work with, and getting all the career academies situated. It's fun for us to get to see kids and know that, hey, we are here as a resource for you if you have questions, if you just want to talk about something, if you're looking to buy a car, anything like that.
I don't know what to add, but the kids are all, like she said, they're given a salary to go around, and it's life. So they have to work within that budget. If they're making $48,000 a year, they have to work within $4,000 a month. So it's a budgeting process, and the kids take it as a game, because at the end they look at it and say, well, I had $100 left over, I had $500 left over. But the beautiful part about the program is a student can go buy a house with 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and then go buy a nice Suburban or something like that. And then when it gets done, they look at it and say, wow, I'm short $1,000. I need to go back and downsize my house or downsize my car. So it gives the kids opportunities to get a second chance, when sometimes in life we always don't get a second chance. So it's a good education tool for us. What we want to see in 3, 5, 7 years is these students, I keep calling them kids, but they are, make good decisions in their own life. So it's just an experience for them. If they pick up one thing, that's great. So it's been, we're happy for the partnership. We've been doing it for 3 years, and our staff have a lot of fun with it. And I think all the other partners in town have fun with it as well.
Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate that. So Kelsey mentioned this. We started, I think, 3 years with 60. And we are really trying to get to the point where we can get 300 sophomores through there. Right now, we have all of our Career Academy students come through there. Our AFS students join us. Our JAG students have joined us this year. So we're slowly pushing toward that 300 mark. But we are time constrained and how we can make that work. But they have been an awesome partner, and it's an awesome activity. I agree, the struggle that kids have is so real as they start spending the salary that they have and then have to reevaluate in several instances. So the other thing that they didn't tell you is then they have a follow-up meeting with students, and they pull all the stats and data together and share that with the students. And some students earn prizes by maybe philanthropy on how much they gave to certain organizations, or retirement savings. So it's kind of fun to then regather everybody and give them some awards and prizes. So so moving along a little bit then is we have a second experience for our sophomores. So the reality check takes place the day before parent-teacher conference, or during parent-teacher conference week in October. So we use that 8 a.m. to 11:30 day for that activity. So we do the same thing in February when we have the 11:30 dismissal on that Thursday. So the next one is an opportunity to get all of our sophomores through, and that's our mock interview day. And we have been doing this for several years. But last year, we partnered with Norfolk Iron and Metal and made a couple adjustments and tweaks to the program that allowed us to get all of our sophomores through. Previously, sophomores got one interview. So you were in there for 20 minutes, you sat down with somebody across the table, and you did an interview. That interview could be 3 minutes, it could be 5 minutes, it might go the whole 20 minutes. We made a little adjustments by bringing in about 50 or 60 students for a 20-minute block, and we have about 40 interviewers during that 20-minute block. So it turned into a speed interview. So if they went and only talked to somebody for 2 minutes, they rotated back to a holding pen, and they went out and talked to somebody else. And we did that for 20 minutes straight. So they were getting feedback along the way. So their next interview could maybe be a little bit more improved, maybe a little bit longer in some cases, and they were feeling more comfortable in talking to adults. So the other thing that Norfolk Iron and Metal partnered with us on most recently was a professional development day. And I'm going to have Arnie and Sarah Dittmer come up here and talk a little bit about both of those activities, and then we'll wrap it up with talking to our student tonight. So Sarah and Arnie, thank you very much for your partnership, and I'll turn this microphone over to you so you can talk about mock interviews and the professional development.
Thank you. This is a great honor for me. I'm very excited to come speak about career academies. It's been a passion of mine pretty much since it started as a strategic action plan years ago. So to see where it's grown and to see on the board 18 career academies and the number of students going through is awesome. And I congratulate all of you and thank all of you for it. I have a few things I want to touch on, then I'll turn it over to Sarah, and then I'll come back. We'll talk about Professional Development Day. The key we look at is this is an opportunity to engage with students and teachers. So as we're looking at these places, the most important places in education to me, to our company as we look at it, is students and teachers. So how can we work with the students in the mock interviews? How are we able to help with the Professional Development Day in last month? So we've been very, very excited. We're excited to be a part of it. Career academies really hit our company values. They hit them in a couple places. We have 5 company values. I'm going to share 2 of them with you tonight. First off is carry yourself like a professional. It's the first thing on our values plaque, and it's extremely important to us. Mock interviews for sophomores, what a great chance to talk to them about professionalism. How do you do that? How do we help prepare them for that? So when they get into the working world, they're ready for it. And the final one, and probably most important, is decisions with a long-term time horizon. There's no better investment for our company to make as we're partnering in the community than in education and in career technical education, because the ROI on that is astronomical. There's nothing we can do better in our community than engage in what we're doing with career and technical education. So I'm gonna turn it over to Sarah for the mock interviews. And
Okay. Thanks, Arnie. Yeah, we had the pleasure of being involved with the mock interviews, like Ben mentioned, last February, and we really enjoyed that a lot. It sounds like I was not personally here, but the day before, they came and spent some time in the classrooms with the students. Our HR professionals came and talked to them about successful interviewing and what to expect when you're interviewing. Things like appropriate dress, a nice firm handshake, making eye contact, some of those soft skills that we talk about a lot when we talk about career academies, in addition to all the technical information that is gained. And it sounds like they had a good time. They did a Kahoot, showed some, would you wear these shoes or would you wear these shoes? Did some of that kind of stuff that hopefully with students was engaging, and they walked away and kind of tucked that in the back of their minds. So that was the afternoon before. And then we had more than a dozen of our leadership out at Norfolk Iron and Metal come on the actual day of mock interviews and sat with the students and participated in the speed interviews. And when I was gathering some information to come tonight with some of those people that actually sat at the tables, they said exactly what Ben said. Some of them took 2 minutes. Some of them took 10 minutes. So they said, but we saw the students improving. We saw them applying the skills that we had talked about the day before in class, and that it was exciting to see how much they were taking away from the experience. So we were excited to be a part of it last year, and it sounds like plans are already being made for this year. So that's great.
so we had the opportunity, I guess it was in October, to host a professional development day for the career and technical education teachers. And this was truly it was a transformative experience in our business. We just renovated and rebuilt our offices, and it was the first event in the new office, in the new space up there. So we were very excited to welcome NPS into that. But then what we found out is the conversations that were able to be had were extraordinary. We came in with a plan, and as we were planning it, the first thing we realized is we had way more volunteers in our company than we had time for. Ben emphasized that the group will get there about noon, and we need to have them out of there about 3:45. And the group showed up about 11:30, and I think the group left about 4:30, which was always a sign of a good party, right? Everyone's sticking around a little later. But what we did is we spent a little time, welcomed the group, talked a little about who we were and why this was important to us as a company. And then real quick, we separated into some breakout groups and got the teams out touring the office. We've changed some things at Norfolk Iron over the last 2 years. We've really reinvested in the way we work, trying to build a much more collaborative, a lot of the same things that you guys are working on in education, we're trying to work on in the professional space. But got our teams out into the offices, into the warehouse, kind of had a few different targeted groups. So the groups that might be more interested in the accounting, we spent more time in the finance group. The IT computers were a little more time over there. Some of the skilled and technical sciences spent more time out in the shop, out in the truck shop, and truly just engaged. But everyone got around across the entire company. And one of the things I really appreciate about our company and like about our company is they say a student will have what, six jobs in their life, 6 career opportunities. I'd like them to be able to find most of those right here with us, and we have that, and we have that opportunity to share that on a professional development day. So we're really excited to share that with the group. Another thing that really stood out that day was the leadership support from NPS. We knew our group was excited. But then when we've got our superintendent and central office leadership team and building administration and teachers and guidance counselors, we filled that room. I mean, it's a pretty good sized picture up there. We filled that room up pretty quickly, and we're really honored that the district took that much time out of their professional development day to come share it with us. And then finally, the most exciting part of it is we had breakout sessions, which were interactive. And we were in conference rooms, and we were set up discussing those things that were going on. I was in with the drafting and processing estimators. And I'm pretty sure that conversation could have, and technical math was also in there. And I don't know if you guys know your technical math teacher around here, but you're not going to have a short breakout session in that conversation. We appreciate it. But I think that's really important. And the conversation wasn't one way. And it wasn't just one group asking questions and the other answering. It was truly an ongoing conversation about, here's what we're working on. How does that work for you? Here's what we need. How can you help teach that? And it was an awesome day, an awesome conversation. And I think from the feedback I got from our groups and the feedback I got from some of the school district is that was across the board very well regarded. And the conversations have been ongoing. I know there have actually been a few teachers who weren't a part of that, who have since reached out through some channels and set up some engagements, which is exactly what we want. And I think those of us in business in this room, both up on the board and around the room, would probably agree. Not just the companies that have been listed up here on the different slides today, but there are companies all over this community that are asking for an opportunity to help. And how can we engage with students? How can we engage with teachers? And how can we support that mission the schools have of preparing all students to prepare all students to pursue their goals in the future? And how can we do that? How can we be at the table? We are open and we are willing, and I think the business community as a whole would second that one. Finally, I'd just like to say thanks again for the investment this district continues to make in career and technical education, in career academies. We love seeing it. Thank you.
All right. Those 2 activities have been wonderful additions for us. I do want to give a thank you to our central office administration on letting our CTE teachers have the opportunity to be out in opportunities like that. Our CTE teachers sometimes may not see the value of being in some of their professional development activities that are planned, but when they get to go do those types of things, just like what Arnie pointed out there, they were there early and they stayed late, and they continue to ask questions to this day. So I want to wrap this up with a student perspective. So we've talked about these things that we're doing in academies, and I was trying to think of students that would be able to come up here and kind of give an overview of what it has been like to come through Norfolk High School as a graduate and also to complete a career academy. And Leah Hardy graduated last year, class of 2024. She's a current student at Wayne State College. And she was one of the first students I reached out to see if, number one, if she'd be able to fit this in with her final schedule right now, and if she'd be willing to do this. And right from the start, she was excited to be here to share a little bit of her experience at Norfolk High School and being an Education Academy completer. So Leah, come on up here, and thank you for being here tonight. I know you've got a final today and more on the way, so thanks for taking the time.
Thank you. Well, Ben kind of stole my introduction, but I'm Leah Hardy, and I graduated from Norfolk in May 2024, and I'm currently studying elementary education at Wayne State. Throughout high school, I was involved in several different clubs that benefited me to being a future educator. I was involved in Educators Rising, the Wayne State dual credit classes, Panther Partners, Circle of Friends, and completed the Education Career Academy. Through Ed Rising, I was given opportunities to attend different events throughout the high school, other MPS elementary schools, and Wayne State. One of my favorite activities that we in Ed Rising got to do was go to all of the different elementary schools across the district and read to classrooms. One of my favorite parts of that was being able to go back to my former elementary school, Grant, and just read to new classes of old teachers that I had and hopefully set a positive example for them that they can look up to. One of the most beneficial opportunities were the dual credit classes that were provided through Wayne State. I was able to take 3 different classes that allowed me to have a more personal experience being at the high school rather than in a large college class. And it helped me get classroom experience and practice lesson planning and just learn the basics of being an educator. I was able to shadow several different teachers either in the high school or in elementary schools through this opportunity. Another exciting thing is the connection formed between Norfolk and Wayne State has been very beneficial in my transition from high school to college. I've been able to meet professors in high school and then now have some of them as my advisors in college. So that was good to form that connection and keep it going in college. But overall, Norfolk Senior High's Career Academy better prepared me for college and my future career through educational experiences that set me up for success. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah. Great job. So there is an example of a finished product from Norfolk High School who capitalized on Career Academy opportunities through a dual credit, hands-on experience in classrooms, shadowing experiences, and I have no doubt that she'll make a tremendous educator at Norfolk Public Schools. So there we go. So that kind of wraps up the presentation part. Thanks for letting us share a few of the things that are going on in our academies, and I'd be happy to ask or answer any questions if anybody has any.
I don't have a question, Ben. I just want to say how cool it was to have Arnie and Sarah here, because I don't know if all of you know this, but Arnie was our school board president, right, Arnie? At the time we started the Career Academy, so he was very gung-ho, and Sarah was the leader of our foundation, so she was out there collecting the money. So they are both really ground floor of all of this, and it's so exciting that you're still here. And then to Arnie's mother is the one that has funded a lot of our dual credits through her scholarship program. So that's awesome. Thank you both for getting us here. Thank you, Ben, that was great. Thank you, Leah. Thank you, everyone. That was awesome.
I have a couple questions. Are you able to accommodate all the students in the Career Academy pathways that they want to take, or are some of them really popular and maybe kids can't fit those classes in?
I would say the one that, by and large, yes, we can accommodate everybody. Welding is one that we have a little bit of a challenge with 12 bays. Sometimes students want to get in there and finish that up as a junior, and in some instances they need to wait until they're seniors. Mr. Settles, that's the only one that I think of as far as challenges with scheduling or academy participation that we'd run into. But I think I think we can accommodate. We have more capacity.
So, and also we've just recently expanded our health sciences. So we have our school nurses that are also registered nurses, and so they're accredited to teach these classes. And so we've seen an uptick in enrollment in CNA and also midterms, and so we've been adding some sections there and been able to balance that with their other duties in the school and be able to expand that programming without necessarily having to expand staffing or neglect other things that they need to do in the building. So that's been exciting as well. Very popular program, and so to see it continue to grow is great.
That's great to hear. And then my last question is, I know not all students take the freshman forum class. Probably most of them do, but some of them in music programs and maybe other things. So what opportunities are available for them to kind of learn about the career academies and spark their interest? And
Yeah, that's a great question. So jazz band and show choir meet during their freshman forum time, so they split their lunches. We just keep a list of those students that we need to double back to. They obviously don't get the semester-long introduction, but we do double back with them, talk about what our academies are, and show them through a Google form how to express interest, and then obviously come on alongside them as they get ready for registration to be sophomores.
Great, thank you so much.
You had mentioned the revision process where you guys kind of get evaluated and see how you're performing. What's that process like? And were there specific goals that you guys identified, or what are you guys doing to try to make the program better?
So the revision process could be a completely different night unto itself there. So Mr. Settles and I were both in our first year last year, and we were required to go through the revision process. It helped me learn the academy structure far better. The data that we receive back from the state is included as part of our revision process, which can be like our graduation rate, how we are including students like AFS students. That's a part of that. We're looking at H3 jobs, so high demand, high skill, high wage, and if our academies are matching with what our workforce development is calling for in our community. Part of what you're seeing, like the freshman forum goal, was a part of the revision process. We wanted to be more intentional and direct with our freshmen to give them a better understanding of what the academy process is and how to become more involved with it.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I think you guys are doing great. It's a wonderful, wonderful program.
Thank you.
Hey, my bad. Margaret, your grandma. That's your mom, Betty. For a minute, I'm like, what are you looking at me for, Arnie? Okay. Margaret Robinson the scholarships are very generous.
Tom took my question, but I have about 10 of them, but I'm only going to ask you two. So who's part of your revision process? Is there anybody outside of the district that's kind of like saying, these are brand new eyes and we could go this direction if it wasn't the people who were doing it every day that would maybe have some input? And before you go, does anybody stay in communication with the businesses that have funded and supported as far as on a local level? I mean, clearly, the group from Norfolk Art and Metal is heavily involved, but I would believe that there would be other people who are involved
Yeah, absolutely.
than just who's here.
So, like I said at the beginning, there are so many different people in our community. The professional development that Arnie outlined that we went to Norfolk Iron and Metal, last October we were at Volcraft. And so there's another opportunity that our teachers had. That was the first time we'd ever had a chance, I think, in many years at least, to get them outside of the building. So yes, when I first came online, I was impressed with how many community members actually reached out to me and was saying, whatever you need, whatever I can do. Certainly the first place we go to when we're looking for assistance or help is our capital campaign people from way back in 2014 when that started. Those are some backbones of our community that we feel can give us a lot of help. There are so many different things going on in our academies. I wish I could share more of the places that have helped. Some are really excited. Some kind of come in and come in and out of our academies as far as assistance. But by and large, there are so many people and so many businesses that that are so willing to help us. I'm trying to think if I've ever been told no, as I've asked for something over the last year and a half, and it's been wonderful.
I did have probably a more important question. So if you're a freshman and somehow you didn't know about the Career Academy, can you bounce in?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And that was, like, to Tom's question, that's why I feel like we were not targeting and being intentional enough with our freshmen. I think they were getting a little bit in 8th grade, and then we weren't really explaining it in enough detail. You can express interest in academies at any point. In fact, sometimes I have to go to kids that I'm like, hey, do you know that you've actually completed 2 of the 3? And if you complete 1 more, you're going to complete that program. And they're like, oh, I didn't know that. Well, I don't think that should be happening. Like, I think that they should have an understanding of where they are in those programs. And I think that sometimes what happens is they just start taking it, they like it, they keep going. And in fact, I know there was one student last year at graduation that I gave a silver cord to, and they're like, I didn't know that I did that. So.
Okay, and then just circling back, tell me who's on, is it all people within the academy on your revisions process?
Oh.
Is there anybody?
Yeah, so that revision process includes like our teachers, it includes our administration, it includes stakeholders, it includes the Department of Education reports that they are sending to us. I don't know, that took several months to get through. So we did send that out to stakeholders and said, please pick this apart for us. Give us any ideas of some goals that you might have or some suggestions that you have.
Ben, can you also talk about the steering committee and your advisory boards?
Yep. So that's something, so we do have advisory boards loosely connected right now with our career academies. That's another revision goal of ours, is bringing those back online. That seemed to be a pandemic-related thing where as the pandemic happened, our students were not going to places in our community, and we were not obviously having people in our building. So those kind of seem to disintegrate a little bit. So that is another part of the revision process where we need to reestablish our advisory committees connected to our programs.
Well, I love the program and think it's fantastic. I think it's great life skills for the students and the opportunities that you're providing. I just have always been 100% behind it.
I just wanted to thank you, Ben. Thank you, Jason Suttles. Thank you, administration, for running it. It's a great program. Thank you, businesses, Norfolk Iron Metal, Midwest Bank, to make it successful. It really meets the mission of Norfolk Public Schools to prepare every student for success. I have 2 kids in the career academies, and it is a great program. Thank you for all the work you guys do.
Thank you.
The segue into all the great work people do, I want to lead into our board member service recognition portion of the night. I first want to recognize Beth Shashikant for her 2 years on the Norfolk Public School Board of Education. Beth, it's been a joy to work with you. I haven't been on the Government Relations Committee, but they tell me you're an awesome letter writer, and we're really going to miss Beth's letter writing skills. So thank you, Beth. You've been great in many areas, and we thank you for your education and your knowledge and your commitment to the school board. Thank you. And the second one is our president, Sandy Wolf. After 12 years, Sandy will be leaving us. One of the things nice about having Sandy on our board is all the history. Sandy was here when we hired Dr. Jamie Jo Thompson. She was here through COVID, Anytime we have questions, Sandy will give us a reason why we do what we do. So we appreciate that. She's a wealth of knowledge and will really be missed in the future. Thank you for 12 years of service to
Well, I've prepared a few words.
Okay, good, good.
It's big. Sorry. Hey, this is going to be tear-free. For the past 12 years, I have thoroughly enjoyed every minute of being on the school board and being your member. Disclosure, I suffer from selective memory. It has been my honor and privilege to serve you, our community, our students, our teachers, and our staff. Every decision I made was about what's best for our kids and our students. Every student needs to be safe, respected, and to be prepared to pursue their goals for the future with outstanding educational opportunities. The decisions of a school board member are never made alone. I have had the privilege of serving with 16 amazing school board members. There are 6 of us on the board, and we may not always agree, but we do need to always collaborate. The most important job of a school board member is hiring a superintendent. And that was the first and best decision we made when I was sworn in, was to hire our superintendent, Dr. Thompson. She's a tireless leader. Her passion, vision, and work ethic are unparalleled. With 12 schools, 4,300 students, 300 plus teachers, staff, and administrators, and us 6 school board members, it is an overwhelming and daunting responsibility. Thank you, Dr. Thompson. I've always kept student achievement a major goal, but no school board member can take credit for that. It's always about our warrior teachers in our classrooms. Those are the ones doing the hard work. Thank you, teachers, administrators, and staff. And thank you to our community for your support, emails, and for positive comments during public comments. I'm proud to have been a part of so many accomplishments like Little Panthers Preschool, our career academies, a new building for AFS, increased graduation rates, and 3 strategic planning initiatives. Some of my favorite memories are graduations, the excitement, the pride, and the accomplishment, and all those sweaty hands you get to shake. I loved school visits, seeing our teachers in action and our students, and that was the biggest reason I serve on school board. And living through COVID and keeping our doors open, that was a challenge. In the beginning, there would be nobody at this meeting, nobody. And there was public comments. And one of the first times the room was full, it was because of Jerry Cover and the golf team. That was crazy. I've really enjoyed testifying in Lincoln at our legislature and fighting for public education. We renovated this building. Good thing, because there were so many bats here, and I hate bats, and so does Dr. Thompson. And the big thing is we've reduced the district's tax rate for a total through those years of 39.5 cents. The list goes on, but I see that yawn back there, so I'll just leave it here. It's so good. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And to, stop it. And to Jay, my husband, who I met 50 years ago at Norfolk Senior High. He knows more about Norfolk Public Schools than he ever needed to. I'll bleed maroon. Go Panthers. Here we go. Public comments. This is the time during the meeting when the public may request to address the board. According to state law, if you wish to comment, you must identify yourself, including your address, the name of the organization you represent, and the topic that you wish to address. Public comment cards are located at the media tables in the back of the room. Please pick up a card and provide the required information if you plan to speak. Each individual's comments will be limited to 5 minutes. Please note that the board cannot discuss or act upon matters that are not listed on the agenda. Therefore, board members will not respond to your comments or questions. If you wish to request that an item be placed on a future board agenda, you may contact the superintendent or her assistant during normal business hours. Also note that concerns related to personnel need to, did I reread that? No, addressed to the superintendent. Individuals who make false, defamatory, or slanderous statements during public comments may be held legally liable. Slanderous comments are not protected just because they are made at board meetings. Additional procedural guidelines are available at the media table. Is there anybody who would like to speak? Okay. Information and discussion items. Finance and Facilities Report. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam President. Total amount of claims to be approved on the consent agenda by specific fund are listed below. General Fund, $392,332.06. Nutrition Fund, $1,125.89. Cooperative Fund, $73. Subsidiary Fund, $7,968.34. Special Building Fund, $637,126.50. Senior High Activity Fund, $56,220.01. Junior High Activity Fund, $2,829.44. Student Fee Fund, $299.97. All of these claims were reviewed earlier today by the Finance and Facilities Committee.
Thank you, Eric. 6.2, Teaching and Learning Report. Mr. Oswald.
Thank you, Madam President. The Nebraska Department of Education publicly released its AQuest classification information at the end of November. I spent time analyzing that data with the teaching and learning team. I also met with each principal to go over their building data. We analyzed areas of strength and areas where we could improve. We also brainstormed some ideas and some things that we could do to work on those areas where we had room for improvement. The AQuest system provided a rating for individual buildings within the district. Each building received scores delineating their performance on a spectrum from good to great and all the way to excellent. This report not only offers insights into the specific strengths of each school building, but also identifies areas for potential growth and improvement. While the report becomes public in November, principals and teachers have been proactively working on analyzing assessment data through our PLC processes like we discussed at the board meeting in November. The other main task that the Teaching and Learning Department has been working on is preparing for the NSCAS growth winter testing. My team spends time preparing information for teachers who will administer the tests and works to make sure our students are rostered correctly into the testing system. Students in 3rd through 8th grade are currently taking these tests in ELA and math. 5th and 8th grade students also take a test in science. The testing window gives us data to analyze as we prepare for NSCAS testing in the spring.
Jared, I don't know if you want to answer this or if Dr. Thompson will later in her report. Do you have any idea, or what's your best guess why math dropped from 59 to 56? What do you think is the reason?
Well, there's a drop like that. There could be a couple of factors. One thing to keep in mind is that the cut scores did change this year across the state. And so when we talk about percent proficient, there was some effect based on the changing cut scores. So the state does a lot of things to determine where those cut scores need to be set. This year's cut scores were definitely tougher, and so we saw some.
What's a cut score first?
It's the score that you need to reach to be proficient or advanced or below proficient. And so
Changed this year?
It did change. It changes every 5 years, and so this was the year for math. And so that would be one of the factors. Principals and I talked about some other ideas that we have, and so we're working on some things to improve in math regardless of the cut score change.
And I
Cut
did look
score-
into that, and the Nebraska state average fell by 4%, and ours fell by 3%. So we're right in with the state average on how much we fell. So I feel like it probably is due to that cut score.
Cut score increased, what we had to meet to be proficient. How much did the cut score go up? 4%, 3%, 2%?
I think it varies based on grade level. I don't have the numbers for each grade right now.
Thanks, Jared. 6.3, Financial literacy report. Mr. Oswald.
All right, thank you, Madam President. In compliance with Nebraska State Law LB 452, the Financial Literacy Act, Norfolk Senior High School has added successful completion of 5 credits, which is 1 semester, of personal finance as a graduation requirement. By Nebraska State Statute 79-3003, last year's seniors, the class of 2024, was the first graduating class required to complete the personal finance requirement to graduate. During the special presentation at the board meeting in January, we will give you more information about personal finance at the senior high. To meet the second requirement in LB 452, Norfolk Public Schools has included financial literacy in the instructional programs of the elementary, middle, and junior high schools. Elementary grades have chosen personal finance standards within the economic strand for social studies. For example, a 3rd grade standard that is covered is, given a budget, make choices as to what to purchase, what to give up, and what to save. At the middle school, Mr. Dreyer does a 3-week unit in STEAM where students learn about banking and finance. This unit includes topics such as savings accounts, certificates of deposit, and ways to best invest money. 8th grade social studies does a unit that includes the planning of a family budget that applies key economic concepts that they have learned. These are just examples of how we are meeting the requirements within the personal finance law and preparing our students for their futures.
Sounds like it lines right up with that Career Academy.
It's another way that we're meeting that requirement.
Thank you, Jared. 6.4, student programs report. Mary Luer.
Thank you, Madam President. On December 13, all certified staff will receive professional development regarding inclusive mindsets. All staff will also view training on the alternative assessment and basic special education guidance as required annually. Our nurses wrapped up their annual health screening last week. Students in grades PK and preschool, kindergarten through 4th, 7th, and 10th grade are screened annually. Last Friday, I was able to meet with the 4 school psychologists, students looking for placement in their intern year beginning the 25-26 school year. The students attend the University of Nebraska at Kearney.
When you met with them, you're hoping that they can intern next year for us, is what your goal with that?
I have a 15-minute sales pitch to encourage them to come work for Norfolk Public Schools. And an intern is a paid position for a school psych. So we have 4 in the state from UNK. And I did a little sales pitch trying to get them.
So what can they do as an intern that a regular school psychologist couldn't do? And do they need mentors and people?
Yep. So they do everything that the school psychs do, just a smaller number of tests that they're allowed to do. And then we have veteran certified, you have to be school psych for 3 years in order to supervise another school psych or an intern. So all of our current school psychs can do that. Yep.
When will you know if you get them or what?
Every day I look online to see if they've applied.
She came in my office this morning.
Thank you, Mary. 6.5 is student services report. Mr. Hughes.
Thank you, Madam President. In November, we completed our annual external safety audit for Norfolk Public Schools. 2 deputies from the Madison County Sheriff's Department were able to conduct our external audit this year. This is the 2nd year in a row the 2 deputies completed the audit, so they were familiar with our buildings, our processes, and our goals from last year. The 2 deputies went to all of our schools dressed in civilian attire and tried to gain access to our buildings without following district procedures and practices. Upon completion of that task, they checked in with our main offices and walked around our campuses while conducting a safety evaluation. During this evaluation, the 2 deputies checked doors and windows, made sure we were following district safety expectations, and briefly interviewed staff members to see how familiar they were with our standard response protocol, or SRP. Once finished, the deputies met with our building principals to briefly go over what they saw and experienced. When all buildings had been evaluated, one of the deputies met with me to go over every building's safety audit. I am currently in the process of meeting with building principals to go over their building's full report. Some of the findings from our audit: deputies were able to gain access to one building due to an exterior door procedure not being followed. Some classroom doors were not shut or locked. Our buildings are well kept and uncluttered. Numerous staff members asked if the deputies had proper identification on them or if they needed help. Our staff is very knowledgeable when it comes to our SRP, and the deputies witnessed many positive interactions between our students and staff. Overall, our audit was very positive. Kudos to our NPS staff for the work they have put in to improve our culture of safety over the years. Lastly, our Norfolk Public Schools safety team has met to go over the results of the audit and have made goals for individual buildings and the district to focus on for next semester.
Thank you, Chuck. 6.6, Human Resources and Accreditation. Mrs. Baumann.
Thank you, Madam President. We will have 16 student teachers in our district for the spring semester. They will be student teaching in the areas of elementary education, special education, social sciences, early childhood education, physical education, family and consumer sciences, and music, and possibly art. We got one more request today, and this had already been published. In addition, recruiting is underway for the 25-26 school year with a few open positions already advertised. Principals will begin interviewing for open positions after the first of the year.
Sounds like you have a little sales pitch going on too.
I'm sure trying.
Good job. And thank you, Angie. 6.7 is the superintendent's report. Dr. Thompson.
Thank you. Our monthly enrollment, our September 1st, 2024 enrollment was 4,542, which is 23 students more than September 1 of 2023. Enrollment increased by 4 students from September to October, but then decreased by 14 students from October to December for an overall decrease of 10 students since the beginning of the school year. In regards to our NSCAS scores, looking at our English language arts scores for all grades and schools combined, you see that prior to the pandemic in 2019, 55% of our students were proficient. However, we took a major hit during the pandemic. We are now well above our pre-pandemic levels with 60% of our students at the proficient level. That is slightly above the state average of 59%. In the area of math, prior to the pandemic, 51% of our students were proficient. Last year, 59% of our students were proficient, so we had made up that pandemic difference. We did have a slight dip this year, which Mrs. Carhart referenced. So we dipped down to 56%. The state average also fell by 4% this year. So we are still slightly below the state average. In the area of science, that is one area that we don't have pre-pandemic data. Our scores have slightly increased each year from 22 to 23 to 24, from 70 to 72 to 73. And we are currently 1% below the state average, which is 74%. On the back, you can see more specific percentages by grade level and by year. Overall, we see positive growth in most grade levels and subject areas. We are digging into our most recent math scores to see if there are any other concerning areas. Middle school and junior high is where we see that we saw the most significant drop, so we're taking a more specific look at that area. And we really do take a very strong look at data during our MTSS process and our PLCs. So that is something that we'll look at for the remainder of the year. If you have any more questions, Jared would be happy to answer those for you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. Okay, we're to committee reports. 7.1 is the Facilities and Finance Committee. Mrs. Carhart.
The Facilities and Finance Committee met earlier today. Board members present were Sandy Wolf, Terry Bauer, and Brenda Carhart. The committee reviewed claims and financial reports. Other items discussed include student savings plan, the safety audit report, and current audits. The next Finance and Facilities Committee meeting is scheduled for January 13th.
What's a student savings plan?
Well, that's really not, I don't know how much okay, so a bank has come to us and asked if they could come to our elementary schools once a week, once a month, whatever, and set up a little bank and have kids deposit money and maybe earn some interest, and then when they're done with elementary school, then they would give them their money back. And this bank has also offered to do some matching to try to, again, teach students some more financial literacy. So we just said, we didn't make any decision in finance and facilities. We just said maybe we should reach out to other banks and see if, give every bank an option if they would want to do it. We didn't want to commit to one bank without talking to our other banks that also support us, support the schools. So no decision's been made, just we're gathering information at this time.
Makes sense, thank you.
Thanks, Brenda. 7.2, Policy Committee Report. Mr. Stanton.
The Policy Committee met on November 15th, 2024. Board members present were Brenda Carhart, Cindy Booth, and myself, along with NPS staff Dr. Thompson, Eric Wilson, and Kellen Collins. The committee reviewed policies 3010 through 3130 related to business operations. Policy 3080 related to federal funds was revised to correct a grammatical error. Policy 3120 related to depository banks was revised to add the Nebraska Liquid Asset Fund. Policy 3130 related to purchasing policies was discussed but tabled until the next section review as more information was requested regarding the purchase of U.S. flags. The following policies were reaffirmed without any revisions: 3010 budget planning, 3011 fund balance reporting, 3020 public review of budget, 3030 transfer of funds between categories, 3040 budget as spending plan budgeted items, 3050 tuition fees, 3060 material fees, 3070 summer school fees, 3090 sales and disposal of school property, 3100 leasing, 3110 short-term investing. Our next policy meeting is scheduled for January 24th at 9 a.m.
Thank you, Tom. 7.3 is the Norfolk Public Schools Foundation Committee Report. Brenda Carhart.
Norfolk Public Schools Foundation Board of Directors met on November 18th with 14 board members in attendance. President Jason Bush called the meeting to order, and Treasurer Brenda Carhart reviewed the financial statements. The Finance Committee presented the proposed budget for 2025, and the Board Committee presented an update on board terms and potential new board members. The Marketing Committee gave a recap and received board feedback about the Traditions fundraising event held on April 22nd. The foundation will not meet in December. Our next meeting is in January.
Brenda, do you have people going off the board?
Yeah, we do. Dave Merritt is the biggest one. He's been on the board, I think, for 22 years, and he says he's had enough. So, yeah, I think he's been on the board since it started. So he is one that we're looking to replace, and I think the other two are going to stay on.
It's okay.
I want to say like 13. Three-year terms.
Thanks, Brenda. We're to the consent agenda. 8.1 is the minutes of the previous meeting, and the minutes from the meeting on November 25th were attached for review. 8.2 is personnel and contract approval. Dr. Thompson.
I am happy to say that I have a contract for your consideration this evening. It is Jacob Bede, a school psychologist, to start next school year. I have not had a school psychologist for your consideration for a number of years.
That sales of Mary's going on. Good job. 8.2 is resignations. Dr. Thompson.
Unfortunately, I also have some resignations for your consideration. Marshawn Goebbels, special education teacher at the junior high, Jesse Jensen, math teacher at the senior high, and Andrew McClemens, ELL teacher at the senior high, all resigning at the end of the 2024-2025 school year.
Dr. Thompson, are they retiring or moving or just getting out, different career?
They are all just taking other positions.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. 8.3 is claims. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam President. Attached are the claims. These claims were reviewed earlier by our Finance and Facilities Committee. There are 2 conflict statements this month that will need to be read before voting.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second the motion.
We have a motion by Beth and a second by Brenda. Are there some people that want to speak?
Out of abundance of caution, I hereby declare a potential conflict of interest and am abstaining from voting on claim number 371 and 374 for the month of December in the consent agenda for this meeting. I have signed and filed this written disclosure with the Secretary of the Board. It is my intent to vote on all other remaining items listed on the consent agenda. My vote on the remainder of the consent items should not be taken as a vote one way or the other on the other items which I have identified or any of the matters set forth therein or related thereto. My two conflicts were meals related to the state education conference.
Out of an abundance of caution, I hereby declare a potential conflict of interest and am abstaining from voting on Claim 370 and 373 for the month of December and the consent agenda for this meeting. Again, that was meals for me that the school's paying for when I was at the Nebraska State School Board Convention. I have signed and filed this written disclosure with the Secretary of the Board. It is my intent to vote on all other remaining items listed on the consent agenda. My vote on the remainder of the consent items should not be taken as a vote one way or the other on the item for which I have identified or any other matters set forth therein or related thereto.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda. We already did that,
Yes,
didn't
we did. Yes. Good job. Way to go. Yeah. Khaled. Tiffany, vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you, Tiffany. We are to action items. 9.1, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the 25-26 negotiate agreement for non-supervisory certificated staff. Dr. Thompson.
Thank you. This is a 3.45% total package increase with a 2.2% increase to salaries. One important thing to note is that the district will no longer offer cash in lieu of health insurance for new employees. However, we will grandfather in our current employees who are taking that option as of now. I would be happy to answer any questions that you have about any of the other agreements.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2025-2026 negotiated agreement for non-supervisory certificated staff.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion by Beth and a second by Tom. Is there any discussion?
I just wanted to thank Tom and Sandy and Beth for all your work, and Dr. Thompson for all your work in meeting for negotiations and getting this done.
Ooh, don't leave out Eric.
And Eric, sorry, Eric was.
I agree with that, Brenda. They did a very nice job.
Okay.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you, Tiffany. 9.2, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the first reading of Board Policies 3010 through 3120 related to business operations. Dr. Thompson.
Thank you. These policies were discussed earlier during the Policy Committee report and are attached. I would be happy to answer any additional questions you may have, but won't read the list unless you want me to.
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of Board Policies 3010 through 3120 related to business operations.
Second that motion.
We have a motion by Tom and a second by Cindy. Is there any discussion? Please vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you, Tiffany. Nice job. Way to fill in. That brings us to future meetings. The second monthly meeting of the Board of Education is scheduled for Friday, December 20th, 2024 at noon. This is a change from the typical meeting time due to the holidays. The following regular meeting of the Board of Education will be held on Monday, January 13th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. All components of these meetings will be held at the Norfolk Public Schools Central Administration offices and will be open to the public unless a session is needed in order to protect the interest of the district or the reputation of an individual. With that, meeting adjourned.